God for football.
Game day.
TGFF, thank God for football.
Game day.
TGFF, thank God for football.
Game day.
You have tuned in to another episode of Thank God for Football, brought to you by the Fanboys, powered by Greenville Sports Media.
Good morning, college football fans. It is time for football. So welcome to the first episode of Thank God for Football. I am your host, Justin Grice, alongside my wonderful side host, Jay Jacobs. We are coming to you live from one of Raleigh's premier Italian restaurants, Amedio's Italian restaurant here in downtown Raleigh. This place has been open 61 years, Jay. I'm ready for it to continue to be open for 61 more. It's by far one of the best Italian restaurants we have, but it's time for football, Jay. Tomorrow we have football, and it's a fantastic day. 4 games on the slate for tomorrow, 25 on the slate for the week. And we're here for our show to break down each and every one of these games, as well as give you our picks, as well as we may have a very special guest on to provide his picks of the week as well. So we're going to kick this off by just giving you guys the first upcoming games tomorrow. Tomorrow's slate includes the Florida State Georgia Tech. We also have Delaware State. We also have Nevada. We also have SMU. So we've got a lot of good things to pick from tomorrow, Jay. We've got more games coming up throughout the week. We've got UNC Minnesota. We've got NC State, Western Carolina. We've got Coastal Carolina, Jacksonville State, which I think is a very intriguing matchup as well. So a lot of good things to talk about as we kick off the new year in the 2024 season. So we'll get right into it, Jay. We'll let you kind of start out with our game for the week, and we'll start talking about each one of these games, and we'll get it all set up for us this week for you guys for tomorrow.
Well, first of all, Justin, it's an honor to be out here on the show with you. And, of course, we also have Brad Harvey. He'll be joining us next week. Just want to say shout out to Brad. Also, we'll be having reporters from all over college football, all the different conferences starting next week. This week, not that many games, so me and Justin's going to fly solo on these games this week. And I tell you what, it's going to be great to be on here. We got some crazy nut that's going to be joining us from time to time, giving us his picks. You will meet him shortly, but let's get started. Just before we get started, I heard you got some good stuff in front of you, man. I mean, I am jealous that I'm not there with you enjoying this food. I mean, you got to give the fans, I mean, these people got to know that, you know, our TGFF Game Day, which is Thank God for Football, is just about anywhere and everywhere. And Justin, you have a good look at some great food.
Man, Jay, I can't tell you this. I've been a student here at NC State for a little while, all the way back to 2003. And even my first week on campus, I spent at this amazing restaurant here in downtown Raleigh. This is the 61st year of Amedio's Italian restaurant here on Western Boulevard. And I'm going to tell you this, Jay, the calzones are fantastic. I'm actually going to just have to try one right now for you. So we're going to go ahead and get that done.
Well, while you do that, Justin, I'm going to tell you, this place is well known all over the South because I was talking to the Furman SID, and every time he goes up there, he stops at a meal. I mean, he said, as soon as I told him, he was like, "Are you kidding me? Y'all are going to be there?" I was like, "Yes, sir, we are." He's like, "I love going there."
Best Italian food in Raleigh, hands down. Anytime anybody's like, "Hey, we got to go grab Italian food, we got to go hit up Amedio's on Western." As you guys can see behind me, I mean, it's nothing but NC State. You know, they're NC State through and through. The cool thing about it was the restaurant was actually started by a former NC State player. And
wow.
His name actually is Amedio. So Amedio's Italian is actually really fully authentic food. Emilio DeAngelis is the one who started this restaurant. He started it 61 years ago, and it's just been amazing ever since then. So, their food is fantastic. They have anything from calzones to pizza, fantastic wines. I mean, you name it. They got pasta, they got chicken, anything that you can just wrap your amazing mouth into. It's just amazing food. So we're super excited that they allowed us to come here, allowed us to, do the show live as we get college football kicked off. I mean, we're literally 2 miles from the stadium at this point. So they are your choice for Italian food if you're coming to Raleigh. So we look forward to all of our new Western Carolina folks, visitors coming into town. NC State fans, you know where to go. It's right here at Emilio's.
All right. Well, now let's go to our first game. Now, the games we're going to be going over will be the ones being played on Thursday next week. Well, our show, of course, will be after that, so we want to give them due respect. And the first game is Coastal Carolina versus Jack State. This is the Battle of the Yardbirds. That's right. It's the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina versus the Gamecocks of Jacksonville State. Last year, Coastal Carolina went 5-3 in the conference and 8-5 overall. Of course, their head coach, former NC State offensive coordinator Tim Beck. And then the Jacksonville State, they went 6-2 in their conference, Conference USA, and then 9-4 overall. Of course, Coastal does not have their quarterback. He's now at NC State. But they really need this win if they're going to have any chance at being a playoff contender at the end, Justin.
Absolutely. I mean, you and I talked about this, earlier in the season. Coastal is actually one of my, few select group of teams that I think can get to that college football playoff. I think that they can be one of those top 25 group of 5 teams that can get there. They obviously have our former offensive coordinator from NC State as their new head coach, Tim Beck. And Tim Beck, from everything that we've seen so far, has really done a great job recruiting down there for Coastal as well. So I'm really super excited to see their new talent. Obviously they lose a player like Grayson McCall. Is hard to lose for that team, but knowing Tim Beck's history with coaching quarterbacks and how well he's done with them in the past, I think they're going to be really well set to really compete. Their offense is going to be unique, and I think they have a real chance to really, make that 12-team playoff. They're one of my 5 teams that I have. So really wanted to look forward to this game as we head down the week. And obviously Jacksonville State is going to be making their first appearance in Division I. So super excited to see how they react to the new division. So that was one of the things that we had on the slate. And then obviously the next game that we had up was going to be our Thursday night games, which are going to be one of my favorites. Obviously is going to be the UNC Minnesota game. I think it's one of the most intriguing matchups that we have for the week. I really think the spread, I think the last time I saw was only 3.5 points. So these two teams are going to be really solid against each other. North Carolina has yet to name a quarterback. I think a lot of people are expecting it to be the transfer, Max Johnson. But, they've had a quarterback competition throughout camp. So I think it's going to be a situation for them. It's going to be how can they improve on their defense. They obviously got a new defensive coordinator for this year. They're looking to really take off on that side of the football while still maintaining that really electric offense. So it should be another good matchup.
Yep. UNC, of course, last year they finished 8th in the ACC. Their record was 4-4 in the conference, 8-5 overall. Of course, their head coach is Mac Brown. And then Minnesota, PJ Flick, this guy was electric a couple years ago, and then he's fallen off quite a bit. 2023, they went 3-6 in the conference and 6-7 overall. Both of these teams this is going to be a tough contest for both. Both of them, I think, are going to struggle this year. And actually, I think both coaches are going to be on the hot seat this year. I predict both of them are going to be on the hot seat. I don't see either one of these teams being a major threat. And I think because of the way college football is right now, they can't sit around and wait. They're going to have to make tough decisions. And now, Minnesota, their schedule's brutal this year, and same with North Carolina. I don't care what anybody says about the ACC; it's still going to be a brutal schedule, and because the ACC basically beats the fool out of each other. So this game for sure is going to be it's just going to be one of those games where whoever wins is just going to be respectable, I guess you could say, in a lot of ways. The other team's going to be asking for answers.
Absolutely. I think it's a team, or it's a matchup really of two teams that are searching for some answers right now, especially on the defensive side of the ball for North Carolina. I mean, their defense has just really been so maligned over the last couple of years. And I think they're searching for answers there, and I'm hopeful that they will be able to, because obviously the stronger our conference is, the more we're going to get, from the national media as well. Our goal is to obviously have a strongest conference as we possibly can, because we want everybody in these teams should be playing really strong teams each and every week. And I do think, though, North Carolina, if they can find the answer on defense, I really do think that they can have a really good season for them. Obviously they finished last year at 8-4 in the regular season and then ended up losing their bowl game as well. But I do think if they can find the answer defensively, they can be a scary sleeper team, in the ACC.
All right.
Yep. So next on the slate, though, we got, my alma mater's matchup here in Raleigh for the Thursday night matchup with Western Carolina Catamounts against the North Carolina State Wolfpack. And Jay, I think you and I have talked about this game for so long, dating all the way back to our days at SoCon Media Day. We've really been interested in finding out more about this Western Carolina team. They were picked to finish third, in the Southern Conference. So nearly won the conference last year as well. I think, that VMI game is the one that really turned their season from winning the conference to not winning the conference. I think Cole Gonzalez got hurt in that game too. So it's good to see him back. They also had 10 preseason all-conference players. So I was very intrigued by this matchup because I really think they have some talent, and I do think they have the ability to kind of give NC State a little bit of a push.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Of course, NC State last year finished 6-2 in the conference and 9-4 overall. Dave Dorn coached them very well last year. And unfortunately, like NC State, they just seem to always hiccup at the wrong time and lose to the wrong teams. Western Carolina, of course, is SoCon, which is something I cover extensively. I was at the game where Furman put it to them at their home field last year and basically won the conference at that game, though they technically won it versus UT the following. Western Carolina game was huge for Furman because Western Carolina was hot at that moment. And they was 5-3 in the conference, 7-4 overall. Of course, Grayson Marshall at NC State now, that's going to be, honestly, I think that's what NC State needed. I think that's the one thing that y'all were lacking last year was a stable quarterback. Hopefully he's going to give that to you. And I think it's going to be a good game in the first half. But I think when it gets down to it, the second half, I mean, y'all just have a few more dogs in the fight, if you know what I mean. And I think that's just going to wear them down. And we'll give our predictions here in a little bit. But right now, I just think NC State's going to be a little too much for them. Not saying that Western Carolina can't hang with them. I think they will give you fits in the first half, but I think, come second half, it's a whole different ballgame.
I totally agree with you on that. I mean, obviously, the biggest thing that NC State's been challenged with has really been their quarterback play and their offense in general. I mean, I think we've looked at the last 6 years, and NC State's literally finished after yards after contact has been like 90th or worse in the country. So our running backs aren't getting the holes to first off. So they're getting hit, as soon as they're taking the handoff. So that's really been NC State's tough challenge, has really been their ability to run the football and their ability to sustain a, consistent offense. I mean, we saw some flashes of new offensive coordinator Robert and I last year towards the end of the season, when they went on a 5-game winning streak. Yeah. That was part of the season that, a lot of NC State fans were like, hey, this is where our offense, should be. But ultimately, I think if you can get some consistency on the offensive side of the ball, this should be a game where NC State does, put out its tough dogs. I mean, they've got, returning National Freshman of the Year, Casey Concepcion. He's obviously going to be one of the ones that everybody's keeping an eye on throughout the country. So I hope that this game is going to be the game that shows everybody, hey, this is the real NC State offense. I think Grayson McCall was a great fit for them, and I think it's going to be a really tough test, though, because I really do think Western Carolina's got some real fight in this match too. I mean, they've got a lot of returning experience, especially from offensive conference player of the year in Cole Gonzalez, and I think, with him being back healthy, I think that's going to be a really big deal for them in this matchup.
All right, and we go to the final game, Colorado, North Dakota State, and I'll let you kind of talk about this one. I'm not a huge Dion fan. I think, I'm not saying he's a bad coach, and please don't anybody take that. I've just never been a big fan of Dion, and I think that, sometimes things get a little overblown. So that's all I'm going to say on this one.
The thing that intrigues me the most, Jay, about this matchup is just having a real powerhouse FCS team coming in to play a team that's kind of wounded. A lot of things were talked about this Colorado team, especially preseason. There's a lot of hype around Shedeur Sanders and a lot on Travis Hunter as well. So realistically, I picked this game just because I really am intrigued to see, has this Colorado team picked itself up? Have they been able to really put themselves together offensively and defensively? I mean, defensively, they were really one of the struggles for them last year was on that side of football. So ultimately, I'm looking forward to this matchup because I want to see how does North Dakota State really take on the FBS team, because I think they're good enough, to beat this Colorado team. So that was one of the reasons and one of the big things that I was looking for when I looked at the FCS versus FBS matchups for this week. I really was intrigued to see how well does North Dakota State move the football against that Colorado defense. And it's going to make my determination on Colorado for their season based on how I see them play in this football game. If they can put all the pieces together, I think they can have a really, really good season. And I think you could see Shedeur be a, dark horse Heisman candidate if he ends up playing as well as he can. So that was one of the matchups that we picked for this week.
All right.
Yep. But after all that's all said and done, Jay, we've got a ton of other games, that we're going to end up actually making our picks on down the road. But at this time, we really want to be able to introduce, our good friend of the program, guy that we've known for a long time.
I have not known him. I do not know this guy. He is. I've heard of him, but he's a nutcase.
I've seen him around town a few times, Jay, and I really think that he's going to be a phenomenal asset to our team this year. We're looking forward to introducing our good friend of the show. Uncle Bobby is going to be joining our show.
All right, well, let's go to the commercial with Uncle Bobby with Arden's Burger and Grill in Central South Carolina.
Hello, everybody. It's your old pal, Uncle Bobby. You love Arden's Burger and Grill because you know what? I got me a sampler platter. That's right. She made me a sampler platter of everything Uncle Bobby loves. Look at there. We got the s'mores French toast. Ooh, we got some wings. And we got the powdered burger. And you know what, Uncle Bobby? He loves some wings, I'm telling you right now. You will not miss. I'll tell you, the double dip wings will make you double dip crazy. I'm telling you right now, it's the best thing you ever put in your mouth. Oh yeah, and French toast. Hey, they serve breakfast all day long. Uncle Bobby loves them for French toast. And folks, the Paladin burger. Ooh, blueberry barbecue sauce, smoked Gouda cheese. Yum yum. Make sure you get down here to Arden's Burger and Grill Central. Uncle Bobby, I commend it, recommend it, everything that is amended, I do it here at Arden's Burger and Grill in Central South Carolina. And don't forget, they're going to open a place called beef and ribbies. That's right. It's gonna be so good it sticks to your ribbies and makes you do this all day long. I'm telling you right now, come to Arden's Burger and Grill, TGF Gameday. We're here.
Cutting back from our 3 games, I guess we could call them, of the week. So we're going to start out.
Justin, what did we just see there? That dude is unreal. Did he just eat wings, French toast, and a Paladin burger? I mean, come on. All 3 at the same time.
That's the
crazy.
meal of champions, Jay. That's the Game Day TGFF official meal of the day. If you don't start Game Day with French toast, wings, and a Paladin burger, then you're missing out on your whole day. I mean, you just
That's crazy.
So yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And we see the guy on around town. We just thought, maybe, this would be a guy that we could include on the show. I mean, he's a great asset.
Oh, man, I don't know where you found this guy, but you know what? We do want to thank Arden's Burger and Grill in Central South Carolina. Make sure you go by and see them. They are great. If you're in Clemson or in that area, please go by, see Arden's, Donnie and Angie, and also they got a new one called Beef and Rib will be opening up pretty soon. But now let's go to the 3 games, Justin. We've got first up SMU Nevada. I'm gonna let you kick it off.
Man, I love this matchup. I'm an ACC guy at heart, so welcome to the ACC Mustangs. We're excited to have you guys be a part of this wonderful, amazing conference that we call the ACC. As we all know, they've been pushing the conference of quarterbacks this year, Jay, so we're going to hit right off the start with SMU's quarterback, Preston Stone, man. He is really talented. He's one of the best quarterbacks. Yeah, he's the real deal. I really think SMU is going to have a surprisingly really good season. They bring back a lot of their talent from last year. Rhett Lashley has really got that team humming now. I'm excited to see what they actually bring to the ACC. Anytime you get some new toys is what we like to call them. You want to see how do the toys operate. So this is a game I really think SMU should not really have, much of a problem with. Nevada's really, really struggled last year, and I think this year they're not really going to have a lot of weapons in this fire too. But SMU for sure is the real deal. I've got them at 8-4 in the conference for their first season, which is going to be a really big year for them. I mean, I think if they can carry the torch for their conference and for us, it'll only make the conference better. So really,
and I agree. Last year they went 2023. They went 9-0 in the conference and 11-3 overall, and they played some decent teams, folks. This wasn't a bunch of cupcakes. I mean, some people might call some of them cupcakes for sure. I mean, we all got them in every conference, but they played some decent teams, and even the ones they lost, they didn't get completely blown out. So I think they're a great team. I think Nevada out of the Mountain West is just going to be overpowered. I think SMU is going to be a great team for the ACC. It begs to see whether Stanford or Cal can pull their weight, but for sure SMU is going to be up there. I got them in the top 5 in the conference, and I actually got them. It could be as high as 3, just depending on the way things follow, or the way things fall out. They could either be 3rd or they could be 5th. But for sure, SMU is going to be the real deal this year. I think both teams need to come out the gate strong. This is actually a must-win for SMU. They've got to get the wins now, because after their first 2 games, they're going to be playing some tough ones right out the gate. So for sure, they got to win it. And I think Nevada just needs to play tough. Don't get blown out, and just get ready for Mountain West.
Yeah, I mean, SMU, you and I were down at the Bash at the Beach when we were watching that SMU-Memphis game, and it was really back and forth, but SMU really was able to take control of that game late, and it was very impressive for me because, the news was just starting to come out, about them joining the conference, and so it was fun for me to be able to see a brand new team that I want to be able to see have success here early on. Obviously they're going to have Florida State early on too, so that's going to be a big test for them to be able to actually show how good they can or cannot be for this season. And I think it's going to be a good year for the Mustangs. And so my high school is a Mustang too, so I got to pull for them. So,
Yep.
we're going to go with them in that game. So,
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say our next game is out of the Big Sky FCS Montana State versus Mountain West New Mexico. Another FCS versus Group of Five. Even though New Mexico's not been the strongest team last year, they were 2-6 in their conference, 4-8 overall, and of course Montana State was, of course, in the playoffs in FCS. They went 6-2 in their conference, 8-4 overall. Montana State, this is a big game because if they can defeat a Division I team, even though it's New Mexico, and I'm not trying to throw nothing at the Lobos, but I mean, you are what you are right now. I think this is huge for them. And New Mexico, they don't need this loss. If they lose to an FCS team, that coach is on his way out. So, look, that's just my thoughts on it. I think both these teams need this win. I mean, it's crazy that we're week 0 and you got to have must wins. I mean, but it just starts your season the way it needs. I mean, you think, oh, I'm taking on an FCS team. We got it. No, you don't. You're messing with the wrong FCS team.
Yep. And it's really interesting, because we've already talked about a couple of FCS teams versus the Group of Fives. And I think this is a game where Montana State really – I think if they play their best, they can win. I mean, we watched this team in the FCS playoffs last year, and they're a strong team. I mean, there's a lot of negative mantra around the FCS teams, but when you really get to watching the top 20, 25 teams in FCS, they're really right there with the Group of Fives because the transfer portal is not only helping the Power 5 teams and the Group of 5 teams, it's trickling down to the FCS level too. Some of these teams are getting Power 5 guys on their teams now because they're just wanting the opportunity to play. So I'm very curious to see how this Montana State team does. I really think they got a chance to win this game. Outright. I do. So realistically, when I'm looking for some of these upsets, kind of, quote unquote upsets for week 1, we had them on our list for this week. And that was why we decided, we're going to dive a little bit further into this game, and obviously we'll get into our picks a little bit later on. But, obviously, Jay, the biggest matchup we got for this week and the one that everybody wants to talk about is Florida State, it's Georgia Tech, it's Ireland, it's everything that the ACC could want because it's the only ACC game that they're going to be, promoting and showing. So 12 o'clock tomorrow. I'm just excited to see what this Georgia Tech team can do and what this Florida State team looks like. It's a totally revamped Florida State team. They hit the transfer portal hard again to replace a lot of the guys they lost to the league. So it's going to be interesting to see how does this Florida State team pick itself up from the Georgia loss and from the fact that they got left out of the playoff.
Well, I tell you what, I was a huge FSU fan last year. You know this. Even though I'm a Clemson Furman person, I thought Mike Norvell had the tools to win a national championship. But then injuries to the quarterback happened, and they still won. Even with those injuries. And for whatever reason, we could all just throw speculation out there. They decided to pick Alabama over FSU for a game that they felt like FSU wasn't going to give, that Alabama could. And I think that was wrong. You go out there, you win all your games, you deserve it. They went unbeaten. They did everything they were supposed to do. Everything that a lot of the commentators said, hey, Kurt Herbstreit, win all your games, you go. Guess what? Yeah. They won all the games, they didn't go. So FSU had a right to be salty after getting left out. But you don't deserve you can't have all your players jump ship before you get to a bowl game that you're taking on a top-ranked Georgia team. You go out there and you get slaughtered. Then during the offseason, you lose 9 of your 10 best players. Now, granted, yes, you went to the portal and you grabbed more guys, but they're not really that great. I shouldn't say that great. They're unproven in his system. And because you lost so much, you got a lot of question marks. We don't know what, and then you went out and you got DJ from former Clemson quarterback, went to Oregon State last year, had an okay season. The problem was with him is that he didn't have that top wide receiver, just like he didn't have a top wide receiver at Clemson because of injuries to him. And now he's going to a team that, guess what? You don't have a wide receiver one again. You've got a bunch of possibles, but you don't have that top wide receiver. You don't have, I mean, they got an offensive line, but everything else is a question mark. I don't know. I'm not. I think that this is going to be a crazy game. That's all I'm going to say at this point. Yeah. But we're gonna do our prediction here shortly. But I understand that Uncle Bobby is hitting us up. He has created his own pick for this game, and oh Lord, I'm almost afraid, Justin, for you to send it to him. After what we saw at Arden's, what could be next?
Yeah, it's scary right now, Jay. I mean, I think, we're getting closer and closer to Halloween, but I don't think I've ever been as more scared, in my life to see what this pick looks like. So, I think Georgia Tech, Coach Pry's done an amazing job there at Georgia Tech. He's got that team really on the way up. I was very impressed with what they did last year, very impressed with Haynes King. I think he's realistically one of my top 5 quarterbacks in the ACC. And he's one of the top producing returning quarterbacks in the ACC because the other top 4 are all transfers. So, Haynes really held down the fort, and I really think this is going to be a matchup of which quarterback plays the best. And right now, Haynes is playing really good. Like you said, DJ had a fine season at Oregon State. So how is he going to incorporate into Mike Norvell's system? That's really going to be the key. And can Florida State get a good running game going against Georgia Tech's defense? So
exactly,
really intriguing matchup. Really looking forward to it. But man, like I said, the next thing that's going to be up for us is this crazy pick, and I'm not sure I want to see what's going on with it or not.
Well, he's blowing up my phone. He says, "Tell Justin I am ready," and I'm like, "Oh mercy."
Oh man. Well, if he's ready, you know what, Jay, we're ready too. I think it's time for us to get into, our picks of the week. So that's going to be our next up. We want to give you guys what our thoughts and what our picks are going to be. So, Jay, I'm going to let you kick it off with, our first game. I'm going to let you do SMU Nevada first.
All right, SMU Nevada. I kind of went into it. Who I think is going to win this game. SMU is going to I think they're going to win by at least 14. I think this is going to be a 2-touchdown win, probably more, but I'm going to give Nevada some respect. I think they will try to keep it close, but I just think SMU is going to have a little too much for them.
I agree. I think Preston Stone's going to get, at least 3 touchdowns in this game, 3 touchdown passes. I got them winning by at least 14 myself. So we're going to handicap that game as a win for SMU. All across our panel has SMU going to be winning this football game. So I think that's where we're going to leave off at that. But wanted to kind of kick off the next one. I want you to talk about, obviously these are going to be kind of our premier games, but I want you to pick who is going to be your Minnesota and UNC winner for this week.
All right. Next week, whenever this game is played, I think this is going to be a win for Minnesota. That's right. I think Minnesota is going to upset UNC. I think that even though there's still some people that think UNC is going to win this game, I just don't trust their defense. I'm not really big on Minnesota either this year, but I think Minnesota finds a way to get the win, and Mac Brown automatically starts filling some matches.
I think it's going to be very close. I'm going to pull kind of the lead Corso with this one. But I really do like Amarian Hampton, the running back at North Carolina. I think he's probably the best running back if I'm picking, who I'm going to start a running back list with. There's so many good ones in the ACC, but he really runs the ball really tough and really hard, and he's really hard to bring down. And I think that's going to be the difference in this game. I mean, a lot of people talk about the Big Ten style of play, and it being more physical and, it being a much more upfront game, games that are one up front. And I think that's where North Carolina is going to exceed too. I think their defensive line actually is going to be really good this year. They bring back a lot of returning players from last year, including Kamen Rucker. I think he's a really good football player, and I think they actually are going to win this game in the trenches. I think it's going to help kick their season off. North Carolina is a notoriously great starting football team. They typically start the season now really, really strong, and I think their defense is going to be improved enough to win this football game. I think they are going to sneak one out. I think they're going to probably get a late touchdown or a fourth quarter touchdown. I'm going to be interested to see, who do they pick at quarterback, but I expect it to be Max Johnson. And I think as long as they can lean on their running game and their offensive line, I think they're going to be fine against PJ. And I really think PJ Fleck is probably one of the team or coaches on the hottest of hot seats right now.
Yep.
So, those are the two that you want to go ahead and hit the Montana State game next.
Sure. Montana State versus New Mexico. Montana State's going to New Mexico, but I think they just go there and put a hitting on New Mexico. New Mexico's got a lot of issues right now, and I think Montana State is, like you said, they've been getting in transfers too. FCS has been grabbing a lot of transfers. I know with my work with Furman, we've gotten some Florida State player. We've grabbed some 3-stars and 4-star players. So, I mean, I think Montana State's getting that same thing. And, of course, it shows on the field. Give me Montana State by 10 over New Mexico.
Okay. I'm going to go with your pick as well. I like Montana State in this game. We talked about it earlier. I think Montana State's really going to be that team that shows how strong the FCS can be, especially at the top of the FCS. I think they do win this one. I think it's going to be a little bit tighter game. I think they win this one probably a touchdown. So I've got them, upsetting, quote unquote, upsetting an FBS team. I think they're strong enough to win this football game, and I think they're going to end up winning probably by a touchdown. So those are going to be. But yeah, next one I want to hit up is the Coastal Carolina and Jacksonville State game. I know this is right down your alley, Jay, since you're right down there close to the Coastal Carolina Chanticleer. So I want you to be able to give your thoughts on that one.
First off, big shout out to John Byer, our Teal Roost podcast guy. He's going to be covering the Sun Belt and Coastal Carolina. He'll be on our show starting next week. So we want to give him a big shout out. And of course, we want to talk a little bit about Coastal Carolina. I think in this game, the Battle of the Yardbirds, basically, I think that Coastal is going to have a little too much for Jacksonville State. I don't think this will be a blowout by no means. I got it somewhere in the 27-24, win by 3 points. I think it'll be interesting, and Coastal will get that last-minute field goal to get the victory.
I like Tim Beck in his offense in year one. Typically, most teams struggle with picking up on the plays that he tends to call in his first couple seasons. So I really do like Tim Beck and his offense against Jacksonville State. I think Jacksonville State making their first game ever in the FBS level is going to be a problem for them. I think Coastal's done a really good job too of reloading that team through the transfer portal too. So I do think their weapons on offense, especially wide receiver and quarterback, are really going to help this team get through that. I think they win by a little bit more. I think they're going to probably get a 10-point win in this football game. I do like them offensively, especially for week one.
All righty.
So next one's going to be is our game here in Raleigh. Should be a really fun night, Thursday night game, Western Carolina against NC State. This is one that, for me personally, I don't think that this is going to be a tight FBS game. I think it may be tight for a little bit, but I think NC State just has way too many weapons on that side of the ball, on the offensive side of the football. And I think Western Carolina just ultimately, I think they wear down in the third, fourth quarter. So I've got NC State. I think the spread is like 33 right now. I have them covering. The last time these two teams played in Raleigh, NC State won this game 41-0. So I'm going to go with 48-14 this time. I do think Western gets a couple of touchdowns against them because their offense is really good. But I do have NC State still covering.
All right. Well, I'm an FCS guy, and as much as part of me would like to go ahead and pick Western Carolina, I also have some sense in some ways. I think NC State does win this game. I don't have them covering the 33, though. I have them winning around 31-17. I think, like I said, I think Western Carolina has the horses to last for a half, but it's that second half where y'all pull away, and that's where NC State wins. I think I don't think Dorn's going to look for all these. He's not going to worry about covering the spread. I think he's just going to want to get it out of there with a healthy team. Y'all might be bringing some guys in the fourth quarter just to try to get some experience getting ready for the ACC schedule. That's just based on what Dorn's done in the past. I just think that's what's going to happen. I mean, they'll be close enough in the first half where he's going to leave everybody in till late in the third. Then the fourth quarter, I think y'all might be getting some guys in there to get some experience. So that way, if someone goes down, you have a good backup. Not saying they won't score. I just think that it's going to be that 31-35 score for y'all versus them getting 17 at the most. Probably 14, but I'm thinking 17. So, like I said, I think it's going to be around that 31-35 versus 17 points game.
Okay. The last one we're going to talk about is the Colorado and with their matchup. So, what do you got in that one? I mean, do you think Shedeur is going to be able to take North Dakota State out? Do you think the powerhouse FCS North Dakota State gets the job done?
Once again, I'd like to pick North Dakota State, but as much as I'm not a huge Deion fan, you got to respect them to a point. I think Colorado wins this game. I'm not going to predict them. North Dakota State. If North Dakota State pulls this off, it's going to be. I don't even want to see the media circus that's going to be around Colorado, because all we've heard is this team is, of course, last year we heard the same thing after, a couple games that, they're, they jumped out from outside the top 25 to, into the top 15. And, people were just, giving them all this praise, and all of a sudden they went and they lost, and they had a lot of great players on that team last year. Yeah. Now, granted, he's had a season to where he's instead of losing everybody like he did last year and had to replace them with a bunch, he's got guys that's been there for a year now. So, but they did lose some in the portal. So I think Colorado pulls it off for sure. Score, I don't know. I don't really know what the score is going to be. I think it's going to probably be in the 10 range or more.
I think Shedeur is going to be able to light this team up. I think he's just too good of a quarterback. This is going to be a game, where it's just going to be Jimmy's and Joe's. I really think North Dakota State can hang with them. I think they will hang with them for a little while, but I think when you have guys that are like Sanders and Hunter on your team, I just think there's too much talent for them to be able to hang with them for 4 quarters. So, I think Colorado, like you said, though, if Colorado loses this game, man, it's going to be a nightmare in Boulder. They're going to be after him. I'm in my mind, I'm picturing, the Frankenstein monster kind of thing where you get the town lynch mob coming out there with the fire, with the torches and stuff. But, yeah, I just think this team is too good. I think they're probably going to win by at least 2 touchdowns. So, just give me Colorado for this week. And then last but not least, the ultimate one that we're going to have, Jay, let's get your thoughts first on Florida State, Georgia Tech, and then I'm going to give mine. And then, man, we got the craziness coming at the end.
Yeah, because he's blowing up my phone. This is crazy. This guy really thinks he knows everything. All right. This game all depends on DJ. If DJ comes out flat, it's not going to look good. This team could quickly fall. Quickly, because they got a lot of games at first. And if they don't get to this first slate, it just don't look good for them. Give me Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech upsets Florida State. It's in Dublin, Ireland. This is a game that they want very badly. They finished the year. They gave Georgia one of their toughest tests last year at the end of the year, and I just think that this team, Georgia Tech, is flying under the radar, and I think that a win versus Florida State could be game program changing. I mean, this could change their program big time fast if they could get this win over Florida State, and it could definitely put them in contention for an ACC championship. Now, do I think they'll get there? No, but I think that for sure. I think Georgia Tech upsets Florida State this year in Ireland, and they do it because Florida State's just got so many new pieces. Now, it's not going to be a blowout by no means. I've got 27-24. But I just think Georgia Tech has it this year.
So, in my opinion, I'm right there with you, Jay. I mean, give me the Jackets to sting the Noles this weekend. I really do think Georgia Tech and Haynes King bring the most experience, the most production at quarterback back from the ACC. I think they ultimately get the job done. I mean, like you said, I think Florida State's got a ton of new pieces that they're all trying to incorporate all in week one. With it being a neutral site game as well, that only helps Georgia Tech. You know, ultimately, I think their offense, is good enough to move the football. And I think they're going to be able to showcase what they've got going on in year two. I mean, because like we said, this is year two under Brent Pry too. So, you know, Haynes King's going to be bringing back that whole offense, and they're going to be ready to play. So I've been watching a lot of their practices and things this week, and they look really focused. They look really like they want to put their show on the map and put their team on the map. I'm like you too. I don't think they're good enough to get to the ACC title, but it wouldn't shock me, you know, if they're 8-4 or 9-3 at the end of the season. So
yeah.
You know, and that's the same that I have kind of the feeling until DJ Uiagalelei proves to me that he can be a good quarterback in the ACC, then he's going to have to show it to me. Unfortunately for him, he just hasn't earned that right from me yet anyway, you know, to give him that nod right off the bat. You know, I like the experience that King has. I like, you know, their team. I think they're going to be a really good opponent, and I think, you know, especially for us, because NC State's got to go to Atlanta too. I think that's going to be a really tough game. So,
I was just going to say, I think DJ is a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong. He's just never had the stud wide receivers to throw to, and he does not have that at Florida State. So, unless he can make one, it's going to be a long year.
Yeah, I think so too. The Noles are gonna show us as the year progresses that they get tighter and they get better, and you know they're gonna be able to win a lot of games just based on their defense alone, because you know their defense is gonna be a top 20 defense. So, you know, I think they're gonna be a lot. For me and my perspective, seeing what NC State did last year with an, you know, not necessarily unproven but just inconsistent quarterback is what I would describe DJ as. You know, he's not, the talent's there, but the consistency's not. You know, he's throwing for under 60% for his 40-plus starts as a quarterback. So, you know, I look at this Florida State team as a team that reminds me a lot of NC State last year. Their defense was so good that it's going to keep them in games, but their inconsistent play at quarterback is going to cost them, you know, some games that they shouldn't win. So this is one of those games. I think this is not a good fit for Florida State. I think Georgia
I agree.
Tech. So with all of that, man, we're ready for the craziness. I'm excited. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm anxious. But let's get our pick from our good friend of the program, Uncle Bobby.
Great spirits of the Indian world. This is Chief Bobby, a.k.a. Minnesota, wanting to know who's going to win the Georgia Tech versus Florida State. Oh, you good gracious, what was that? Who's going to win? Hey, Where's this coming from? I'm gonna tell you. Oh, okay. Good gracious, salad jackets around here. Oh, give me Georgia Tech. 27-24, because these yellow jackets are whooping the fool out of me, the Seminole.
Welcome back to the show, guys. Man, where in the world did we get this guy, Jay? I just don't know. But that
Did we just see a yellow jacket sting a Seminole on live television?
I don't really know what I just saw, but I think I saw some type of yellow jacket, putting some type of hurting on a Seminole, but that was crazy.
Maybe he was hitting us up because he was getting stung by getting stung so bad.
I think he was just getting lit up. I mean, it was almost like he was just in the middle of a swarm of yellow jackets. Man, I don't know, but
yeah, that definitely was crazy for sure.
Yeah, but thank you guys so much for checking us out. This is just episode 1 of Thank God for Football. Guys, football is back officially. We are 24 hours away. We're going to be sitting here tomorrow watching everything unfold in front of us. The week ahead is going to be amazing. Guys, come check us out again next Friday. We're going to be here live again. But we look forward to seeing what's going to happen in this football season. Guys, we're going to have our college football playoff picks next week. Our full group of commentators, experts, conference experts is going to be with us next week to break down all of the main games that are going to be in each of our conferences. So, guys, tune in. We're going to have ACC, SEC, Big Ten, Sun Belt,
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, Southern Conference, Big Ten. So we're going to cover it all from the Power 4 all the way down to the FCS. So tune in to the show again. We would again like to thank all of our sponsors for being amazing for all of us, and we look forward to seeing you guys again next week.
Been great being here with you, Justin. Just want to shout out to all of our guys. Next week's guest picker from The Athletic, Daniel Shirley, will be here giving his picks. So our first guest picker of the college football season will be The Athletic's Daniel Shirley. We'll be glad to have him on. And wait, oh God, Uncle Bobby's back again.
Oh,
Justin,
God.
did you tell this guy he's doing the whole season? I thought it was just a one time.
Jay, I may or may not have had a conversation with him.
Oh, mercy.
Yeah, he's going to be back.
Jeez. Oh, mercy. Well, anyway, we just want to thank all of our sponsors. Of course, Justin, tell us a little bit about where you're at again and tell them about that good food you're eating.
Man, if you guys are not going to check out Emilio's, you're missing out. You guys have to come to Raleigh, North Carolina. It's right here on Western Boulevard, 2 miles from the stadium. Guys, please come check out Emilio's Italian Restaurant. They have great food, great atmosphere, tons of NC State memorabilia. Just take a trip down memory lane and come in and see them. They're great folks. They're great ownership group. They've been so good. And their food is amazing. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, if you want to come hungry because you're going to leave with a lot of food. So shout out again to them. Want to give a huge shout out to everybody that's been good to our show. Look forward to it again next week.
All right. Argersburg Grill in Central South Carolina. I want to thank them. Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming. We also want to thank the Point RV at Lake Hartwell. Been really great to us. We'll be holding our game day party there for Clemson NC State. We want everybody to join us there. Make sure you get your reservations in now. It's going to be great. We're going to have Dabo versus Dave. Oh, I think that's going to be interesting to watch. And we're going to have them do some different kinds of contests, so that's going to be fun. We also want to thank Pepsi Cola. Big shout out to them. And also we want to thank the Beef and Rib. And also we want to thank who else, Justin?
Everybody. Clemson Wine Bar. That's another great one. So anybody that's just here, but definitely Emilio's for sure. So got to give a shout out to everybody. Thank you so much. We look forward to the whole cast and crew being here next week, Jay. So looking forward to it. Have fun. Enjoy the football games tomorrow, guys. Don't move from the couch. That's my advice to all y'all.
And let me tell you something, brother. Watch some football.
TGFF, thank God for football.
Game day.
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 You have tuned in to another episode of Thank God for Football, brought to you by the Fanboys, powered by Greenville Sports Media.